Our next problem is we have to do the nose, and noses are really hard, and we're just going to agree right together that noses are hard. So a simple way for a primary student, for somebody who's in first or second or third grade, to draw a human face is just to start a line where between the two eyes and go down and make like a line like that. So it's kind of like an L. This is a simple solution to a rather difficult, knotty problem. Artists forever have been worrying about how to draw noses. Now the mouth is about halfway between the bottom of the nose and the chin, and we're just going to draw kind of a little happy mouth. This person's kind of happy, and you might want to stay away from that bright red lipstick look and use a little more natural color. And in general, your upper lip is a little darker than your lower lip, so we're just going to color with our crayon a little bit there. Now let's go back to those eyes. She looks a little bit like a zombie, and I'm going to give this person, I'm going to give her some blue eyes. So I'm going to color in her blue eyes, and I'm going to use black for the center. Over here, I'm going to do the black first, and I'm going to color around here, and I'm going to give some eyelashes to my girl here. I'm going to make her into a girl, so I'm going to add some eyelashes. Notice I don't do bunches and bunches of eyelashes, just some, or it's really nice. And then I'm going to make her have brown hair, and that by doing this I'm going to cover up her ears, so I don't have to mess with drawing the ears. But if I did want to draw the ears, notice that they start almost even with the eye, come around, and if you just make like a little C, on this side it'd be a C, this side a backward C, that'll suffice for your ears, and you won't look like Dumbo the Flying Elephant. So let's give her lots of hair. We're going to cover this up. Now her bangs, if you look around somebody who's sitting next to you that has bangs, you notice that your bangs come clear down. Sometimes they cover up your eyebrows if you haven't had a haircut in a while. And so we're going to have her have some long bangs. And notice there's a little trick I'm doing here that I'm not even talking about. Notice that when I draw the strokes for her hair, I'm like drawing the hairs. I'm not drawing horizontally. I'm making the strokes that follow the way the hairs would grow. This will make your picture look a little more realistic if you think about this when you're doing it. If you color the direction that the thing really is, like fur on a cat or whatever, you'll find that your picture will look a little better there. Okay, and then I'm going to put her in a blue shirt. She likes to wear clothes that match her outfit. And we could even go over with a light color here and lightly color in her skin, because everybody should have shades of brown, from light brown to dark brown. So, and there's our little girl. So let's review what we talked about. The head is an oval, not a ball. There's almost like a target sign. You can put a halfway line here and a halfway line here in pencil when you're doing practice pictures, and get the idea that the eyes are halfway. And then we can use an L for the nose. The mouth is sort of halfway between the nose and the chin. And when we make our eyes, we want to make the color part of your eyes, your irises, are usually fairly large. They usually go from top to bottom. And eyebrows are just above the eyes. And so there's our little face. Okay, welcome back. I've made an oval here. It's a little bit elongated. I'm beginning to think my person may look like a space alien. At any rate, we remember the crosshairs, and I've sort of lightly put in some cheat sheet crosshairs for myself. And I suggest that while you're doing drawings for well, I still do it, put a light pencil line cheat sheet there. It will help you maintain your proportions. So the first thing we're going to draw is the eyes, and they're basically the shape of a kind of like a football or a lemon. And now one of the things that you might want to notice is that you have eyelids. So if you do a second line below the top of the eye that you drew, it will give the look of an eyelid. So it adds a little more naturalism to your picture. The pupils usually, the irises, to use the right anatomical term, go from top to bottom. In general, people's eyes do that. And the pupils, if you leave a little white spot, a little light, like a little white area, your person will have that look of being a little more alive. And it's just that little reflection that's in the eye, and it adds a lot to your picture. Now your nose, remember, top to down here. The nose is, let me go back to the eyes, and one last thing I didn't want to forget to do is eyelashes, because they're really problematic. You notice that when I do the eyelashes, I start at this lid here, not this top lid, but this lid here. I actually make my stroke go down a little bit and then up. So down a little bit and up, down a little bit and up, and I give that look of the curl of an eyelash. And I usually don't put a lot of eyelashes in. If you overdo eyelashes, I think it kind of has a tendency to make your eyes look like they have bushes or something. So I tend not to do that. And then if you're just using black and white, you can go back in and you can just lightly put some few lines here to give the look of the iris. And then our eyebrows start even with that tear duct for the most part, and they go up and around. And again, I use some light little strokes, and notice my strokes follow the way they're kind of going like little eyebrows, so that they kind of follow the path of the eyebrows. Okay, she has kind of one is a little darker than the other, but oh well. Now, we're going to then take a look at the nose, and noses are really, really, really hard. And I'm going to show you some different ways to do a nose, but we're going to start with just a little line like that. If you really have trouble with this, go back to that L shape that a lot of people use. It's fine, and it will suffice. It's better than ending up with a pig nose. But I like this little line like I drew here. It's like a little wiggle, and then you see how I'm coloring in just that area right there? That's through the nostril. That's your nose hole, so to speak. And you want to make that fairly small. Make it too big, you're going to look like a pig. And then a little curl, little curve right here. And then where the top of the nose is, I just give a little suggestion that it goes up there. And there's my nose. Just a suggestion. You don't have to do it too much. And then halfway between the nose and the chin is your mouth line. And that's the line that separates the lower and the upper lip. And that's a pretty distinctive line. If you look around at your table or your people that sit nearby your desk, you'll notice, and they'll be all laughing at this point as you're staring at their face, but if you'll notice that people have different lines. Some curve, some to just do different things. But I'm going to make this person's mouth line have a little curve. And then the upper lip goes above that curve. And then the lower lip, and sometimes we just make a little suggestion of it, but so that you can see it, I'm going to go ahead and draw it. There's my mouth. Now, the width of the mouth, remember, this one goes underneath this pupil, this one approximately under this pupil. Okay? We could add a little line here, like little cheek lines. Okay? Now, remember we said the ears start even with the eyes, and I just make like little C's along the edge of the head. If you want, you could add a little extra little lines in there, little shadows for the ears, or you can just keep them simply, or better yet, cover them up with hair. Now, this person here, we're going to turn this person into a woman. Her hairline is right approximately up here, and we're going to make her have kind of curly hair. So we're going to have sort of like, she's kind of like a little fluffy curly bangs coming down, and each little stroke kind of represents abstractly her hair, and we're going to continue, and her hair is going to, in fact, kind of follow the contour of her head, but it's going to maybe go up and sort of puff around her head. Now looks like she has a mohawk. We'll keep going and give her some more curls. I'm going to kind of puff it out here. Maybe she has some curls in the back, around here, sort of. And I'll give her some more curls over here. And she needs to go to the beauty shop. Okay, all right, let's give her some more curls. We could give her an earring. You always like adding earrings. And then we're going to notice that I don't have her neck come straight out of her chin. Your necks do not do that. They come out approximately there. Here's her neck, and we're going to add some clothes or a necklace or something, and then her shoulders coming off. Okay, so now let's review what we did. We started with the eyes in the center. We created the nose, the mouth, the ears, and then we added the hair. We started with the basic shape of an oval. If you go ahead and give that a shot, let's see what you can come up with in terms of a self-portrait. Hi, welcome to making a setting for your story or your fairy tale. Let's take a look at what I have here. My goodness, I have Little Red Riding Hood, and she's walking to the forest, but something's wrong. Something doesn't look right. First of all, can anybody tell me? Look at Little Red Riding Hood. She's bigger than the tree, and it doesn't look like a real picture. We wonder why. Well, maybe we need to open our box of magic tricks and pull out using foreground, middle ground, background, and by dividing up the picture plane into those areas, we'll be able to create a more naturalistic setting for your story. In these photographs, notice that the space is divided up into the foreground, the middle ground, and the background. Now, in a painting, we can do the same thing. Let's take a look at this really simple little place we created here for Little Red Riding Hood. We have the path, this area right here, that's the foreground, and we have some details in the foreground. Then we have some rolling grassy areas of the forest, that's our middle ground, and we have some mountains off in the distance, that's our background. And we notice we have our sky that's filled the picture frame. It doesn't just go along the top, it goes clear down to the edge of the mountains. And I've added some scratch lines here and some puffy clouds to indicate that Little Red, the reason she's wearing her hood is because it's raining and she's involved in her environment. She exists in this little imaginary world. So let's add a tree. Now, what's wrong with putting the tree right there? Well, it's kind of small, isn't it? If this is a real flower, then this tree, these are pretty big flowers. But if I take my tree and watch this, that's why this is really magic, and I shove my tree back, say right there, suddenly my tree looks like a real sized tree. It's just further back. It's in the middle ground. But we want to have a tree up close, because remember, maybe this is the tree so I'm going to move this tree. That's the magic of having these cut out ones over here. And I'm going to stick another tree here because we have to have the tree that the wolf was hiding behind. So there's my tree that's along beside the road. And then finally, I want to indicate that this is a forest with a few more trees. So I'm going to stick another tree back here, and I'm going to stick a little tiny tree off in the distance over there. Now, what we've done sort of here is by placing the trees at different places throughout the picture, we've created a balanced picture. We have a big tall tree on the left-hand side, and then we balance it with this tree and this little tiny tree over here, kind of pull the eye back to this side of the picture, and it creates an overall balance of the picture. We've also created unity in our picture by repeating the images of the trees, by having a tree here, a tree here, a tree here, a tree here. Repeating that pulls the whole picture together. Now we're going to stick red in, and we'll stick her along the path, and here she goes to grandmother's house. And so now she's more of a natural size to this tree. Notice the tree goes way up off the picture frame because it's a big tall tree standing next to a little girl. And we can even overlap this tree in the back. We can move red here, and she can overlap the tree because she's in front of the tree. She's on the path. So let's review what we've done here. We created a scene that had a foreground, a middle ground, and a background. We indicated that by thinking about the size of the objects relative to their placement on the page. So the tree that's the closest to Big Red is really large, fills the whole space of the paper. The trees that are moving back in space get progressively smaller. You might want to see how do those trees look when I put them next to each other. So I'm going to sort of move them right now and bring the trees all together, looks like, and give you an idea of how big the trees are. Notice this one fills the whole picture frame. This one's about half the size of the first tree. This is about half again and half again, so that they get smaller quite quickly as they move back into the background. That's an important little artist trick. So let's remember we learned two artist tricks in this portion of the video. We learned about foreground, background, middle ground, and we've learned about relative size, that things that move back in the distance get smaller, and that's what makes them look like they're far away. Hi, I want to show you an alternative project that you could use to practice doing foreground, middle ground, background that doesn't involve using paint. You just need to get some colored construction paper. I'm going to do a desert scene because I like doing desert scenes, and one of the nice things about being an artist is you can do what you want to do. So first I've cut out my background, and I made my mountains blue so they're kind of off in the distance. And that's my background. Then I have my middle ground, and I made sort of some mesas and different things like that, and I'm going to lay that on. There's my Monument Valley with the mountains off in the distance. And then I add my foreground, my orange sand that's up close, and there's my foreground. And now let's remind ourselves about I have some cactuses here. I'm not sure where I should put them. Should I put the little cactus right here, or should I put the little cactus way back at the top of this hill? Those of you that said I should put it further back are right, because this cactus is pretty small. The cactus that would be up close and close to me, the artist, as I'm making the scene, would actually be quite large. And so I'm going to put this cactus, I'll put him right here, cover up some of my mesas, but there he is. He fills almost the whole picture frame because he's close to me, and he's a tall cactus. He's like 10 feet tall, and I'm just 5'6", so he's going to fill the whole picture frame. Now I want to put another cactus in that's only part of the way back, and so instead of going all the way up here, because then it'll look like a big cactus and a little cactus growing next to each other, but if I drop the cactus down approximately, say, halfway here, suddenly it looks like this cactus is the big one is very close. This one's still in the foreground, but further away. And this cactus is maybe even growing on the edge of the middle ground, way in the background there. And one of the other ideas that I want to get across is that when you create details for your picture, the details are in the foreground. Now, I'm going to take this little funky little lizard guy, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. I can put my lizard down here next to my cactus, and he looks pretty good, and he's just walking along by the cactus. But if I take my lizard and I put him up on this mesa in the background, suddenly something's really wrong. That cactus is really small, or this lizard is really big. And so that's because if these mesas were, say, 20 miles off in the distance, I couldn't see a lizard climbing on there if my life depended on it. I could only see the lizard that's close up next to the cactus that I'm standing by. So let's review what we just did. We placed our background, our middle ground, our foreground. We thought about relative size with our cactuses, and we made the cactus that was closest to us the largest, and the cactus that was furthest away the smallest. We placed them on the page. The higher up on the page they were, is the further away they are in the picture plane. And then we learned something new, and that was that the details in the picture are in the foreground, in the things that are closest to the viewer, not in the background or the far away middle ground. So now you've learned some basic artist tricks to make your pictures look more real. When you go to make the setting for your book, I hope that you'll remember to take those